What up, Unstoppables? Quick favor to ask before we hit play on today's episode, and that is please follow and subscribe to this podcast. Nearly 70% of the people that listen to the show or view it do not subscribe or follow, and you owe it to yourself to do just that, because if you do, when we get an amazing guest on the show that gets a lot of likes, a lot of shares, a lot of views, the algorithm is paying attention and it will push that episode to your feed so you'll get our best content. Not to mention, it is absolutely free to you, and it is the most impactful thing you can do to support this mission to inspire, empower, and to transform the industry. And I can't do it alone. I need your support. Thank you in advance. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guests, co-founders of Mandara Hospitality Group, Peter and Martha Pollay. I got the.
We can parlay that right into Pollay.
Pollay. From the top. Jared, don't laugh at me too hard, man. Thank you. He knows this is my weakness.
It's okay. We're with you.
With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guests, co-founders of Mandara Hospitality Group, Peter and Martha Pollay. Peter, Martha, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Always.
Oh, yeah, we are unstoppable.
I'm stoked to
Every
be
other
here.
day.
Always.
Also.
I had fun looking into your history, doing a little bit of research. The values that are kind of forward facing are clearly there. So I know this is going to be good. And I want to give a special shout out to Philip Bolhofer for putting you on my radar. I'm so happy he did. I can't wait to dive into who you are, how you got to where you are today. But let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
It's sort of my philosophy is no is not an end point. It's a starting point. And I almost find there's always a way to find a solution.
Let's dive into that. So why does that resonate with you? Why did you bring that to today's conversation?
Well, because I think you run into a lot of obstacles in the restaurant industry. And I think I've run into a lot of no's maybe in childhood. And I guess if, creativity is where I default to, and problems are things I love to solve. And so no, like if Peter says no, we can't do that. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure we can.
So many things run into my mind hearing that.
Yeah, and it also goes into one of our core values is we find a way. We always need to find a way. We're always thinking on our feet. You plan the best you can to have a good shift, knowing that it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So you always have to be on your feet. You always have to find a way to please the customer, to get the best food out, to help your staff, to even support your delivery people, because they're all people too, and they make our restaurant run.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's what I think of when I hear that. Mm-hmm. And it's no surprise, Martha, that you chose that quote as a creative, because problem solving lives in the frontal lobe. It's that creative what is the solution? Mm-hmm. And as soon as you think that as soon as you convince yourself that there is a way, or you commit to finding the way, your brain will find out that way. It will figure it out. But if you say, no, there is no way, that's our human instinct to conserve energy. So we don't waste energy on that huge part of our brain that is an energy suck, the frontal lobe. Mm-hmm. So we just say, no, it's not possible. And then we shut that part of our brain off and we don't find the solution. It's a very powerful.
Well, that resonates quite a bit with me, because I love to conserve energy.
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said about efficiency too, right? It's that balance. Yeah. Peter, did you want to bring anything to your own success?
It's a little humbling, but I think it's a great mantra for me, is that I try to learn something every day, and I try to do better every day. And it just gets me to try to keep pushing myself every day.
Constantly elevating.
Yeah.
I just recently had Molly Irani. Thank you very much.
Irani.
Really enjoy talking to her, but one of their core values, and this is just fresh in my mind, is show up and step up. And show up is one of my, just keep showing up is one of my mantras, but I'm I got to steal that, because it's not enough just to show up. You got to step up every day too. You got to elevate. So
right. And in this day and age, showing up is almost half of it.
Yeah.
But you still need the other half to succeed and to thrive.
Great way to get this thing started. Awesome. So before we dive into each of your individual backstories and where you kind of intercepted each other and how you got to where you are today, give us a snapshot. What is the Mandara Hospitality Group today?
You take it.
Oh, I'll take this one. So Mandara Hospitality Group, we are a hospitality group that we manage restaurants. We own and operate 2 locations of Posana right now. And we also do consulting for people that want to open up a restaurant or that need, like we worked with a lot of hoteliers recently that they know hotels, they know beds, they know that hospitality. They don't know a restaurant, but many hotels are now, like the select service hotels are putting in restaurants or rooftop bars, and they just need a little bit of support to get that up and running. And that's where we come in. That's where Mandara Hospitality Group comes in.
I would love to dive into how you structure those types of deals. I think there's a lot of those partnerships, what they look like, how to approach that. I think that's really important information. And also goes to show there's 1,000,001 different ways to do hospitality, right? Like there's opportunities everywhere. So your one flagship concept is Posana. Did I say that correctly?
Posana.
Yeah. Just making sure. That's it. So many restaurants run through my head every day as I'm interviewing people. Posana. But the original was 2009, correct?
Yeah.
How similar are the 2 locations in terms of like volume, size?
Volume is where they differentiate the most.
Okay.
Where they differentiate the most. Downtown, we...
how many seats?
How many seats? We have, so that's a little complicated. We have, in our main dining room, we have 64 seats. We also have a patio. That's only open part of the year. That's 36 seats. And then we have a private dining room that holds 40.
And a bar that holds 11.
And then a bar that holds 11. So you put that all together, we're at about 130 seats.
130 seats. When you're not using the private dining room, do you seat in that space?
We do overflow seating in that space, of course. We try to use every inch, every day, all the time.
So when you're on all cylinders, you're doing 150 seats. And about how many turns a night?
About 2.5.
Okay. And how does that compare to the space we're sitting in today?
The space we're sitting in today is actually 50% larger in square footage.
So you're looking
and we're at like 220 seats.
So
all
50%
totaled.
Larger, but a little more roomy spread out. Only 100 more seats.
Right. The bathrooms are larger. The bar is much larger here.
Much larger.
The kitchen's a little bit larger. So, yeah, it just... Like you run out of space very quickly in restaurants. It's really unbelievable.
It's like you look into you move to a new house and it's like this bedroom's huge, and then you put your bed in there. You're like, oh, it's not that big actually.
Yeah. And then you realize
it's always
you don't
huge.
have enough closets.
It's always huge. I'm always happy with that. Like the big expenditure of a house, I'm not going to say anything is not perfect.
So this is like how many? 6,500 square feet.
This is just about 6,500 square feet. Downtown, we're at 4,000 square feet.
And I'd say what was really interesting with our executive team, like when we were moving into this location from having a smaller location, I think the consensus was to those guys, not me, was that it was going to be huge. And I think that the walk away was that you need this space. And this restaurant that we took over had an office the size of this table we're sitting at.
Oh, wow.
And it didn't have any storage.
Which is pretty typical for restaurants.
Yeah.
But it might be typical for restaurants, but it's not typical for how we function. And so part of it was figuring out how do we make more space in this space. And that's a whole part of what we can talk about too, how to make an effective running restaurant. Like this room is 18 inches wider maybe than it was when we took it over. Oh. And by doing that, we can get 2 rows of tables for a private event. So
every inch counts.
I mean,
yeah. So now we have 40 seats in the private event room. Then before
20.
it was only 20. So the 40 number is a pretty good spot for us to be in for private events. Any kind of private event, rehearsal dinner, wedding, birthday party, pharmaceutical dinners, so anything goes.
Relative to the split of private dining versus your primary dining floor, what's that split of total revenue look like?
Total revenue, well, last year downtown we had a really great year of banquets, and it was just about 30%.
So 30% of total revenue comes from private dining.
Yeah.
I think private dining is so huge.
Huge.
So huge.
It meant ripping out all the bathrooms here to get 18 inches. But when I made him run the numbers, I'm like, you will pay for that in no time.
How many square feet is this room?
That's a good question. I think it's
Ballpark.
about
It's got to be about
900.
8 or 900, right?
8 or 900.
8 or 900. And how many total square feet in the restaurant?
6,500.
6,500. So like almost 1/6 of the restaurant space makes up for 30% of the revenue.
And downtown.
Yeah.
It's 8 or 900 square feet as well. It's the same seating, basically 40 seats about for a private event, but the main dining is so much smaller.
What's that? What's the total square footage of the original?
4,000 square feet.
4,000, and the same about 800, or you said a little smaller?
Yeah, it's about 800 in the back room. So that's 20%.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have grown our banquet event and our events immensely over the last few years.
Is that because you've realized that's where the money is, or is that just coincidentally?
No, that's because well, it's a little coincidentally, but I think over the years we have grown a great reputation that a lot of people around town suggest us. We are very responsive. We have an events coordinator that is on salary plus commission, and that's their compensation. And she does such a wonderful job. She gets back to people, like even in this day and age, it's hard to get back to people quickly. Everyone has so many things going on that might be 24, 48 hours. She's usually within 15 to 30 minutes or an hour. And the party planners really appreciate that. The guests really appreciate that, because sometimes
you don't want that
places don't even get back to them.
Lingering over you, yeah.
And just that shows that we kind of know what we're doing as a business.
So can you give us an idea of the total revenue or percent profit?
Right now, total revenue downtown is right at $3 million.
Okay.
We're hoping of a little bit of an increase, but tourism, we rely very heavily on tourism for our downtown location. That's still lagging a little bit ever since a year and a half ago, the hurricane we had, Helene. And we're still growing. It's still, more and more people are starting to show up, but it's still a little bit less than it used to be before that.
Where was it before that? Like 2019, we'll say.
We had
kind of back to back.
2019 pre-COVID. We had a different model.
Okay,
our prices were less expensive. We were open for brunch Saturday and Sunday, and then 6 nights. Back then, we were like at 2.5 million. After COVID, I, took a step back. I was like, I'm working too much. Like during COVID, I worked more than I've ever worked in my life.
Oh, because we had Posana 1, the flagship, and we had just opened 2 new brands in the Eris Hotel downtown.
Yeah, in the Kimpton Hotel downtown.
Bargello. And that staff went from 60
we went to
11.
60 to 11 in one day when the governor shut everyone down.
So we were, and we had to stay open because we were in a hotel. So it was a little,
it was a lot, and I wasn't.
We'll get into it.
And it's finally I want to be there for our customers and our staff. I want to be there to show them support and help them through the hard times and help them through. But at that same time, I was there 7 days a week, almost all the time, and that's not.
You can't lift up others if you're not up.
Yes, but that's also me not showing and emulating that we want a work-life balance of all of our staff. And I'm like, I'm not emulating that to our staff. That includes me, that I need to start doing that. So when we were able to reopen our downtown location, we opened for 5 nights, and that was it. So we could always have Monday, Tuesday off.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into the evolution, that story. So about $3 million with your original location.
Correct.
Which concept or which location does more volume?
Well, here we're much larger. We've only opened 6 months ago.
Okay.
So we're still trying to figure that out, but we're estimating $5 million in sales here.
Cool. And what are your target percent profit? Were you there?
Right now it's a little tricky, but we're really shooting for between 5 and 10% profit at the end of the day.
And I think for a model like this, high touch, I'm assuming there's a lot of people in that kitchen, full service, high labor costs, good quality food. I think 5 to 10% from what I learned is, if you're in that ballpark right now, you're doing better than most people. And I think that
you're still making money, which is huge in this business at this time.
Right.
And Yes, everything's getting more expensive. Rent's getting more expensive. Product is getting more expensive. You want your staff to be able to live outside of work and, kind of not nickel and diming. When I was first coming up in the restaurants, like, we would work without being punched in just to work and to work in a good place. That wasn't legal then, but it was just kind of like an uncommon or an unwritten rule.
That's how you get ahead.
That's how you get ahead. The sweat equity. Now it's just, us being owners, yes, we would love to make more money. Why not? But not at the detriment of our staff.
100%. Okay, so now that we know where you are today, let's go back and start sharing the story. How did you get here? So I'm just going to fly through real quick what I know and let me know where you want to kind of slow down. But Martha, you're from Wisconsin, background performing arts, English teacher, photography, and we'll just pause there. Peter, you're from New Jersey, Arizona State, political science, pivoted after talking to a mentor, Larry Levy, CIA grad in 95, and then you kind of opened restaurants, Chicago, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, a little stint with Wolfgang Puck, and then Chicago is where the two of you reconnect. But if I leave anything out in that, let me know. Anything worth bringing to the conversation prior to that point?
I don't know, not necessarily.
No, at CIA, I worked in Manhattan every weekend. You kind of get out what you put in at the CIA. And thank goodness I was a little bit older. I don't think we need to get into that, though.
I think it's important to point out that in my experience, in my conversations, it's always the people who don't go straight from high school to the CIA who get the most out of it.
Right.
There's a clear pattern there that, it's the people who've gone to school who know a little more self-aware of who they are and really get the most out of that experience. I just can't help but surface that.
Yeah, and, leaving high school and going out on your own and going to college, like a lot of kids, that's their first time of, not being watched over 100% of the time.
Right.
So you kind of let loose. You kind of go a little wild. You kind of don't really make the best decisions, but you figure it out.
I had a 1.16 my freshman year.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And I turned it around to a 3.2, which isn't too shabby. I wonder
That's
what
great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
I'm happy with that number.
How old were you when you went back to school at the CIA?
When I went back to school, I went in, 93, so 25.
Okay. So 25 years old, your frontal lobe's starting to round off. You're getting to the point where you kind of know, what you want, what you love. You had mentors that steered you in that direction, correct?
Correct. I had little quick story. I was about to leave or graduate from Arizona State University after a good 5.5 years of a lovely school, a party school. It's a lot of fun. I had a good time. I got out with political science, and I noticed over the last few years, I always lived in houses with a lot of roommates. And this is late 80s, early 90s, and there wasn't great food around campus at that time. So I just cooked. And as the time went by, I really enjoyed cooking for my housemates and friends and whoever else came by. And I told my dad one day I was going to I wanted to be a cook. I wanted to learn how to cook.
How was that received?
There was a long pause. I could almost hear his jaw hit the ground. And he was like, really? That's really hard to do. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. But that's my interest. I really don't want to go to law school. I don't want to go to business school.
What was his career?
He was an attorney and a CEO for a nationwide company.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, if you're really serious, and I told him I found a place in Scottsdale, Arizona. It looked fine. I'm looking through magazines trying to find cooking schools back in the day, if anyone can remember back that. Pre-internet. And he was like, well, I have a friend of mine. Let me give him a call, and he'll contact you. The next day, Larry Levy gave me a call. He owned, with his brother, Levy Restaurants in Chicago. And at that time, they had 4 or 5 restaurants in Chicago, great restaurants. They've been there a while.
I think they're one of the first restaurants in Walt Disney, or to have
to
have a location on Disney property.
Yeah.
Which Disney standards are through the roof.
Through the roof. But then also at this time, he was just getting into sports entertainment, into moving into stadiums as they were getting renovated.
Changing that.
A huge change. That was a game changer for his corporation.
And that was like the fine dining element of
That was the
stadium
fine
dining,
dining,
right?
Yes. And he was like, okay, if this is really what you want to do, you are going to graduate, move back to Chicago, live with your parents. He said live with your parents because I think he kind of knew what I was going to get paid. And and then you'll come work with me for 6 months, and because that's the prerequisite time of working in a commercial kitchen before you could go to the CIA. I was like, that sounds great. What's the CIA? And then he explained it to me because I haven't come across it in my research at the time. And then, so I moved back to Chicago, got a job with one of his restaurants in downtown Chicago, and I started as a dishwasher.
Was it a surprise? Because I think when you love cooking for your friends, right, and then you actually get into the professional cooking environment, it's not always what people expect.
Oh no, it's definitely not one-to-one. It's much different, and it's I would say a little bit more energetic and not negative, but more chaotic than your own kitchen.
Yeah,
for sure. But the chef I worked for there, he right away told me that, hey, this is what you need to learn. You're going to learn from the ground up. And I was like, I don't even think I was a dishwasher at that time. I was below the dishwasher. I actually had to clean the alley outside the restaurant. And in downtown Chicago, not so great.
Right.
Cleaning all the nooks and crannies, being as clean as possible. And he was explaining why that needed to be.
Why does that need to be?
Well, one, especially in downtown, roaches, critters, and also, like, you want to be proud with where you work and the level of food that you're putting out, and that includes cleaning the cracks.
Right. I think it's also very humbling, when you have to do that work and somebody comes in and as you elevate, people come behind you, like it makes you kind of, you can relate with that person.
You could relate, you could sympathize, you could also explain why it's so important to get their buy-in on it.
Right.
And that's important to get a great job out of people.
So did you at any point get talked out of the hospitality industry during this 6-month period, or did you want it even more?
No, not at all. I loved what I was doing.
Awesome.
I even that work and, putting orders away and checking them in and making sure everything's stacked right and dusting everything. Like, I loved all of it. It was just great for me. And then I got to go to the dish machine, and then I got to go to actually prep something for lunch. And then, like, after 4 months, I finally got to go to the line,
Got it.
which is super cool.
Martha, I haven't forgotten about you.
I don't feel left out.
So are you, at this point in your life, like, it seems like Peter's journey within hospitality started sooner, but you also come from a dairy farm. You're close to food, right? Like,
Well, my family, I'm like the sixth generation member of the Jones family, of which there are now 8 generations, and it's a meatpacking industry.
Okay.
So Jones sausage, bacon, ham.
got it.
And so that, growing up in a family business, and we're not talking just like brothers and sisters family, we're talking cousins, aunts, uncles, massive family business. And so I grew up basically in that environment.
Supplying food service.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just seeing the type of products, the quality of products. The plant is, I can walk to the plant in 10 minutes from my house that I grew up in. And so it was very integral to, I guess, my upbringing. It was just, I was sort of steeped in it. Like, my grandfather was the president when I was a little kid, and then my Uncle Milo was the president, and then my dad was the president, and then my brother was the president of the company.
Did you ever see yourself working in food your entire career, or did that come later?
No, never.
Got it.
No, I think at one point I thought, I'd be an actress, and then at another point I'd be, a traveler doing, Lonely Planet, TV show, or, I didn't think I'd be in food. No, not at all. And it's just interesting how everything in your past contributes to your present in some way or another, and then it makes sense. But I couldn't have pictured that.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we weren't skipping over anything because I didn't see anything in my research, but I don't want to make any assumptions there. So I'm going to pivot back to Peter.
Yeah, please do.
We'll get back to where you two intercept each other, and I think it was like in Chicago. But real quick, knowing what you know now, knowing the world we live in now, if you were starting all over, but starting today, would you go to culinary school?
It was really right for me, and I was able to afford it at that time. But I know amazing chefs that started in restaurants like 15 and 16, and now they're running multiple locations. So I don't know. It was really right for me. I really like the basics. I like the regimentedness of the CIA and the knowledge that they gave me, and I thought it was perfect for me. It's not perfect for everybody.
Would the CIA have gotten you into work with people like Wolfgang Puck? Or if you did not?
The CIA might have gotten me an interview.
Yeah.
But then after that point, you have to prove yourself.
Yeah, I think that today, if you have the resources, and I don't think privilege is a bad word. I'm assuming that you got help from your family to go to the CIA.
Correct, yes.
If you have that privilege and you want to fast track, I think the most value in going to culinary school today is the network you're getting access to. Because if you got it, if you show up, if you're doing good, if you're grinding in school, the professors will see that. They will open doors for you, and they will help you surround yourself with the people that can get you to the next step way faster. I think that is the biggest value.
That's a huge value. I would agree with that, because it's, pretty much every business, it's building relationships. And you always want to keep building them 100. Because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Yeah. You never know when your paths are going to cross again, that you might need something from them, they might need something from you.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that's a huge aspect of it.
So 95 is when you go to CIA.
95 is when I graduated. I went in 93.
And you're 25 years old? So you're 28?
27 when I graduated.
Got it. And at any point, did you ever see yourself, was the goal to open a restaurant? Was that the vision, the mission?
No, that wasn't. I just, honestly, I didn't really think that far in advance. I just wanted to cook. I never saw myself, when I was younger, I was very shy, very quiet. I really never saw myself as a leader. So I was not thinking like that. There were a lot of people in my cohort that, it's kind of interesting that just because you go to cooking school, culinary school, it doesn't mean you're going to be cooking. A lot of people wanted to be critics for some reason. Some people just wanted to be writers. Yeah. Some people wanted to go into banquet only. Some people wanted to go into fine dining. Some people wanted to go to fast food. But at that point, no, I just wanted to get out, get a job, and start working.
So when did things start to change in you? And at this point, you moved back to Chicago. Is this when you and Martha start to reconnect?
Well, I guess reconnect. No, not at that time, because 95, I had a few more stops in me before I ended up back in Chicago.
In 95.
But we knew each other in 95. We actually met in high school.
Okay.
Martha was going to a school in the suburbs.
I met him after college. But a friend of mine from high school, we all used to go out and play pool together in Chicago. The three of us would just always go out and go to Dave and Buster's and play video games back in the day and play a lot of pool. Yeah. So we were just all friends.
Got it. So you grew up in New Jersey, or you were born in New Jersey but moved to Chicago later in life?
Well, yes. My dad worked his way. He worked for the same company for 42 years.
Got it.
And so he worked his way to different areas, and corporate was in Chicago, so he ended up in Chicago at some point.
So between this point of getting, you graduating, knowing that you just want to cook and be in restaurants, what was the next point of evolution for you that got you one step closer to saying, hey, maybe I want to do this? Was there a moment of maybe I am a leader? When did that start to happen for you?
That was long after we were married.
Okay. Honestly, that's probably started to happen after we had
Martha
our
would
first
make me
child.
More confident too.
After we had our first child, and it also is I felt like more of a leader with one child, and then even bigger leader with 2 children, even though I got a lot of my cues from you. But it was like, I think it was that, but I also think it was huge with Martha's creativity and just her spirit of knowing that I have her on my side, that I could do something like this, like open a restaurant.
You got married in 2003, correct?
2000.
2000.
2000. Thank
Yeah.
you. So only like 3 years after you graduated, you were married. When did the conversation of let's open our own place start to bubble up?
2008.
2008.
So we're still 8 years out from that
Yeah.
point.
I mean,
years out from
I
that,
would say a conversation like maybe you should do that was probably, it could have started in like 2006 even, maybe like drop like the seeds, but it was like, no. And then it was really when I stumbled upon the location that everything kind of like clicked. That's when the momentum really hit. Like the seeds had been planted, no. But then when finding that location for Posana downtown, it was sort of like, yes.
Yeah, we were always, at one point, we started looking for a location that, like, we would lease a location. And then nothing was coming up. And then, hey, let's buy a location. Because when you look for, houses or commercial properties, lease, purchase, and then still, some things came up, but, like, not the right location, too much money, too much work to put into it, this and that. And then we were like, hey, what about buying an existing business?
And that was in 2008 when stuff was going sideways.
Yeah.
Going sideways. So,
which is a great time to open a restaurant.
Yeah, people thought we were nuts.
No, I mean,
thoroughly nuts. But
I'm being serious. I think it is a great time because if you can make it happen, then you can get things on the cheap, and if you can make it happen, then you know that you have a model that works.
Right, and you don't. A lot of the restaurants at the time, they were doing really well, and they, when your numbers are so inflated and so large, like, you don't need to really worry about every nickel, every dime, every dollar.
Revenue solves a lot of problems.
It really solves a lot of problems. And so we started when the economy wasn't great, but we were very conscious. We started with as little staff as possible, buying as little as possible. So
learnings that,
we started, we didn't know any better. We didn't know when it was good.
Right.
So we started like very small and as small as we can and built from there.
Got it. But from 2000 to 2000, you moved here in 2006, correct?
2003, we moved here from LA in 2003.
So in the period from you graduating in 97 to, or was it 95 when you graduated?
95.
So from 95 to 2003, you were traveling all over Las Vegas, Chicago, LA.
I graduated. I moved back to Chicago. Got a job with the Four Seasons Hotel, my first hotel experience. And that was amazing. That was a lot of fun. That was a good time. I was there about a year. And then I was looking for something else. And Levy Restaurants had an opportunity in Las Vegas. So I moved to Las Vegas to work in that restaurant, The Dive, it was called. It was like
Didn't you open that restaurant?
An upscale sandwich shop. I think it was just when they were opening, I moved into that. And that was my first management position.
Okay.
So huge opportunity for me. Las Vegas is Las Vegas. It's not my real cup of tea, but it was a lot of fun. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. And I learned a lot there.
Was this before Martha?
This was before Martha, pre-Martha.
Well,
I made a lot of mistakes.
I knew him when he went to.
Learning.
I mean, I had known him when he moved.
We already knew each other, but we weren't dating at the time. Because I'd be asking
our friend Bill. I'm like, "Well, is Pete in town? Let's get Pete to play pool." And then he's like, "No, he's in Vegas opening up the Dive." I mean, this is what I remember. Whether you were opening it or just, working there.
I guess what I want to get out, I want to make sure: is there any point before you came here in 2003? 2008, 5 years later, you're opening your own restaurant. Is there anything that you did you think that most sets you up for success with opening restaurants as like an operations chef?
Okay, let me just talk for a second. So when I started dating Peter, it was in 1999. We were married in 2000.
Fast.
Yeah, we I like that. June 26th, engaged, February 13th. So Like, those are the dates.
I love it.
Yeah.
Very fast.
But we had known each other since probably 95.
Got it.
Like, so, but he was working at Spago in Chicago, and he was the kitchen manager when we started dating. And he was gray in color. He was working kitchen manager, banquet manager, maybe. Like, he kept being the glue that, like, plugged all the holes in the shit. Like, and so I maybe 70 hours a week. I don't know. He was working
at least
a lot. And it was sort of like, maybe it's time to retire, And so what did you do?
But that showed me, every experience I made, I feel like you come across times where you have to make a decision. Where do you go from here? And, looking back, I made all the right decisions. Was I 100%? Probably not while doing it, but you have to make a decision that you think will be the best for you. And all the decisions, even though I might not have liked one restaurant or didn't have a great time there, I learned a lot there, and it got me on my path to where I needed to go. So I made a lot of decisions. I was at Spago, Chicago, and I actually got my job there because I worked at Granita in Malibu during my externship from the CIA, and two of those chefs, Wolfgang used to gather chefs from different restaurants to open up a new restaurant. So a couple of those chefs I worked for, and they were opening up Spago Chicago, and they're like, hey, we need a pasta cook. You should interview. So I interviewed, and I got a job there, and then I was there for just about 3 years, and all of my experiences there, purchasing, managing people, managing a lot of people, managing prep lists, opening up their catering division. Wolfgang brought his catering division to Chicago. I helped him open that up. Open up 2 more locations, one at University of Chicago and one at one of their schools in downtown, one of their buildings. And, it's all great experience. You just have to be a sponge all the time.
Well, I mean, kind of like skirting around it, but I think there's something to be said about going to work for really great restaurants and then going to work for a restaurateur who's opening a lot of restaurants, but specifically helping them go open restaurants. Because opening restaurants and running restaurants, two completely different
things.
So I guess what I was hoping or looking for is, was there a point where you think that being a part of opening restaurants, or were you actually a part of the opening, or were you more about the team building and system implementing?
No, I was with team building, system implementing, and just like organizing dry storage. How do you space manage that? How do you utilize every inch without being cluttered and without not being able to function? And at that time, I was like, hey, maybe I could be on like an opening team for a company that just goes around and opens restaurants all over the country, or maybe even the world. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But you'd be traveling a lot.
Right.
And, relationships and stuff might be a little bit more challenging at that point. And I love traveling. I love going as many places as I possibly could. And to see all the different cultures around the world is just, it's an experience that I think everyone should have, especially coming from America, because we think we have everything and we deserve everything, and we should get more and more of it.
Was there one culture that really opened your eyes? I'm just curious. I have one.
Yeah, there's probably a few. Vietnam was huge for me. And in the outskirts of the big cities, we would travel, and we saw a family, like 3 generations. The younger girl was very young, really wasn't helping, but a little bit.
All on a scooter at once?
No, not at that time. In the cities, yes. No, they were making rice paper wraps.
Oh, wow.
In their house, in their front yard.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like
they were making rice paper wraps. One person had the hot slurry with wood fire underneath it, and a pot that they've probably been handed down from generation to generation. And then they would spread it onto a bamboo sheet, and then they'd put it on their roof to dry.
Wow.
And they were making like rice paper wraps that we see in cellophane here.
That perspective shift for me was Thailand. I think Southeast Asia, their humility and what they value, community, it's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the quality.
And the beauty of
And then like they're very happy, and they're very, family is hugely important to them, and just the quality that comes out of, like, I had my best croissant in Ho Chi Minh City.
For sure.
You would think Paris, but it's like the French influence, but they are so exact all the time, and they very much care. Yeah. It's like, it's just amazing. And then we would go through street markets, and in a bamboo basket, you would see all the little baby bok choy just perfectly put around, organized, circular, and it's like they care in every aspect of the way.
Can you believe we've been recording for almost 40 minutes? It goes by fast.
No, but it does go by fast.
So I do love everything, but I want to make sure we get to 2003. You moved to Asheville. 5 years goes by. You start thinking we're going to open a restaurant. But there was a period where you were doing, like, what were you doing from 2003 to 2008? Were you working in Asheville as a chef?
No. I moved here, and right before we left LA, I was thinking about getting into real estate.
Okay.
Being a real estate broker, selling houses. So when we moved here, our daughter, our first child, was about 11 months old. And I knew that I wanted to spend as much time as I could with our kids at a younger age. And, I just knew opening a restaurant or being in the restaurant business was not going to be able to give me that time that I wanted and that freedom I wanted.
So you had 8 or 5, she was 11. So you had from 2003 to 2008, 5 years of like being there for the child, like the early years, basically.
Yeah,
Martha,
the early years. And
what were you doing during this time, 2003 to 2008?
2003 to 2008. Well, Fedora was born in 2002, and our son Parker was born in 2005. So I guess as being a mom for the most part, but we were, I don't know, I think it was just more of a family time. I mean, we had that opportunity to just do that. You were doing real estate.
I was doing real estate. I tried to, you're always at the beck and call and available when, potential clients come in, and, I would run and do what I needed to do for that, but I would spend as much time as I could at home and try to work at home and be as much of a part of my children's early lives as I possibly could.
Were you just residential or commercial and residential?
Just residential. I was starting to get into commercial just as I left. But also at this time, like, this gave me time to go to what we call our farmers market here, is where the main area where the produce comes in. It gave me time to go there and speak to people, speak to some farmers. We actually have farmers that come there and sell during the season. And then I was purchasing cases of things and kind of like splitting cases with our friends and having somewhat larger dinner parties and, getting my creative juices and my creative cooking that way. That was my outlet. And
back to where it all started.
Back to where it all started, exactly. And then, I guess I loved the real estate because of seeing people's houses and their tastes. I loved the negotiating and the contracts, but I really didn't like driving people around. Yeah. I just didn't like doing that. So I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And then, as I was getting out of real estate, we were starting to talk and we really loved feeding people, nourishing people, spending I would say, some time with people, but not a huge amount of time.
Where was your social network in 2008 in terms of what you had built, the roots, the foundation?
Our social network. How do we get into that?
Well,
I don't know.
I guess.
What do you mean?
So one thing I've noticed today, a path into becoming a restaurateur, is with dinner parties, where people start with dinner parties and they're literally just private events. Make a donation, and let us have your email. So you're kind of like building like this list, or
it was really just friends. Well, having friends over, literally friends. Didn't make a buck.
No, it was
just hung out with our friends and cooked because we had food and I needed a creative outlet, and we actually had fun having people over.
Right. But if you're listening to this right now, like this path is essentially a pop-up if you want it to be that.
Correct.
If you have a home and you have a passion for cooking, and you can create a website and you can have a friend, hey, you're welcome to come back, but if you come back, you need to bring a friend. Right?
Correct.
And then there's things you can do to build your reputation, to build your relationship. So if you do that for 2 years and you're doing a dinner party once a week, you now have a list of 2,000 people that you have reputation rapport with. And you can have a brand and like the name of your website, a .com, and do all that and host the events there. And you can do it legally if you do it. Like there's ways to make to do that legally.
Of course, yeah. And a lot of people do that now. It's, getting into a restaurant, into a space is quite expensive these days.
Right. And maybe they stop there because it fills their cups. They get to make a side hustle, make some money, and do what they love.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then it's like, it's a whole different ballgame from the house, a pop-up, 10 to 20 people, to even if you want to do large-scale catering, 100 people, 200 people. Like, that's a huge step. But having a restaurant where you have all the additional overhead, the build out, and then all the employees, like that's a huge step, and it's just not right for some people.
Right. So you exited the industry. Your lovely wife, Martha, sees this property and says, wait a second, there might be something here. You have your real estate background. So kind of take us to that moment. Was the conversation of buying a restaurant what happened first? Like how did we get to the point where you were even looking at property?
I think it was me. I think that I could tell Peter wasn't really happy with the real estate thing. And like, I have memories of Peter of Peter in his socks in the kitchen cooking and literally like sliding around like he's having so much fun. Like it's just kind of funny, a picture like that's where his mojo was. And it was so obvious not in real estate. And so I think it was me. And see, the reason I brought up like how kind of burnt out he had become at Spago, it wasn't because Spago wasn't a great place to work or a great learning environment. I mean, and just what you guys were talking about a second ago with like the offsite catering. I mean, he had experiences there where he would cater events for 900 people at an offsite. I mean, that kind of experience you get from working in different kitchens is invaluable when you go to open your own restaurant, because you've had that experience of what it takes to do something like that. But that break that he took in 99, which was a really short break because he hopped right back in with Larry Levy, and that's how we ended up in LA, working at Dodger Stadium? Staples Center.
Staples.
Where's Dodger Stadium?
That's the LA Dodgers.
Oh, okay.
That's in LA, but Staples Center was first, and then when the Staples Center kind of like, when, the King season, the hockey and the basketball season are over, the stadium quiets down a little bit. It's mostly events and concerts and stuff. But then that's when actually Levy Restaurants and Wolfgang Puck were partnering to do the renovated Dodger Stadium. And they had suites, they had a private restaurant in right field, and then they also had a specialty area underneath behind home plate, where like only the people that had those seats right there behind home plate got to go into that area. So since I know both restaurateurs and so well, and they brought me in there just to help out.
Got it.
So there was like a departure to kind of like recoup and just he left Spago in 99 and then 99.
Yeah, 99.
Yeah, and then in spring of 2000 he moved to LA. We both did, and was there for like 3 months helping launch that. And then Asheville came next.
In 03, next.
So,
but the conversation, I think you saw how, I wasn't thriving in real estate.
Yeah, my point was, it was like when we were living here, let's say it was like 2005, 2006, probably 2006, it was like, wow, this man needs a change. Like, let's get the socks back on. Let's get him sliding around the kitchen.
Your kids are only 5 and 3, right? So you got out of restaurants because you were afraid of that balance.
Right, for sure. Like it was, that's how we stayed out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say. It was like easier to stay.
Easier to stay out. and to try to find something that,
Was
I thought I liked and I wanted to explore, and I thought it would, in LA you sell a place, like you could live pretty good. Asheville, not the same. Like the median house here
is pretty high.
It was now it's high, but back then it was like 300,000. So if you sold a house and you got like 1.5%, like you weren't living very long on that. So I made enough to get by, for us to get by, and for me to be able to spend as much time as I could, with Martha and raising the kids.
So this location, you decided to buy it.
Well, there was a restaurant. So the first restaurant pretty much anyone would go to in Asheville was called Cafe on the Square. It's just, you can't help but bump into this restaurant. It had recently changed names, and then it went under. And so I was like, wow, like that restaurant's for sale. We can buy them out of their lease. I'm like, it's like one of the best locations.
We definitely bought the business just for the lease and the location.
Was it Posana?
No, it was called Martha Nell's, which has nothing to do with me, but it was literally the first, like Cafe on the Square was kind of this iconic downtown restaurant in Asheville that came about. I mean, I think they opened even when the Fine Arts Theater was the not so Fine Arts Theater. Like I think it was a peep show in the 80s when they opened. And so it really went through a whole whole bringing up of Asheville as like a destination.
Got it.
And so when that location became available, it was kind of like, how do you not seize that opportunity?
And how long was it available before you saw the opportunity?
I think I saw it right when it came up. Maybe it had been up a week
or
they
couple
closed.
Days.
They closed around Christmas time the year before in 2008. They didn't put it on the market until mid-January or something, and then, that's when we were actively looking, and that's when we started looking at businesses to buy, and then that popped up,
and that was a short run, and that's when you saw that you could be someone's exit strategy. Yeah, meaning you could be someone's way out. So when this business went under, you went in. Did you operate it under that brand?
No.
Okay.
No, they were already closed for a while. We wanted to open our own brand. We wanted to have nothing to do with the past brand. It was closed for too long, we thought.
Right.
And it wasn't even an established. Martha Nell's was open for maybe 8 weeks or something before it's like they changed it from Cafe on the Square to this place called Martha Nell's, changed the menu, and 2008 happened, and their concept didn't lift off. It kind of plateaued.
Could be a million one different reasons why that didn't.
Right, I have no idea.
Right, but it was an opportunity. You strike at the opportunity. Any advice on how to negotiate a deal like that? What was the deal? What were you getting into?
We were buying them out of their lease. We were getting their equipment, and we were taking over the lease, as I remember it.
But you don't own the property today, do you?
Nope.
No, we don't.
So you're taking over the lease. Was there any negotiation, or was it a fixed lease that you were taking over?
Well, at that time, the person that owned the property at the time, very nice Southern gentleman, he allowed the lease to be assigned to us.
Got it.
So we kept that lease until it ran out, and then we negotiated another lease after that.
That lease that you signed, it was pretty much a new lease, right? Because they didn't last that long.
No, it wasn't, because it was assigned to them too.
Oh, really? So
it was actually the old
twice.
lease. So it was a lease technically from 95.
Got it.
And they had extensions, and we were at the very end of that last extension.
I'm sure what that lease looked like on paper in 2008 isn't anything like what it would look like today. So I don't know if it makes sense getting into the numbers of what that looks like in terms of advice.
Well, it's interesting though, because that gentleman bought that property at a time when property was relatively inexpensive in Asheville. So he was, he made enough money from all the different tenants he had that his rates were very reasonable for the tenants, and we really appreciate it. He made enough money that he was happy with it. He didn't raise the rates like everyone else around us were raising the rates.
We need more property owners like that.
Yeah.
And but he also, in commercial real estate, it's very odd to get just like a per square foot rate. Most of the time it's square foot plus maybe a percentage rent plus maybe common area maintenance, plus taxes and insurance. So there's a lot of add-ons that add that add up quite a bit.
And these weren't a part of your agreement?
Wasn't a part of it. It was just like, at the time when we moved in, I think it was $19 a square foot.
So look for those add-ons.
That was it.
Basically, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, the add-ons are very, it adds on a good 30% to your rent every month, and, you just need to make sure that you're aware of that, and that, you add those into the numbers of what's really fixed every month.
And I would say, and this is not my wheelhouse, but I'll talk as if it is, but he can correct me. But it's sort of like when we were negotiating different leases in different places, like in Charlotte or wherever, it's sort of like we're not Lululemon. Like our margins aren't like they are on, say, spandex. And so when someone wants, 5% or...
Yeah, percentage rent is now a big thing that they all want they want at least this amount of money, which equals 5% of your gross revenue. But then if your rent goes to 4.7%, they still want the rent to be at 5%. So they want more money at the end of the year, which, maybe in a neighborhood shopping district that, they put in a lot of marketing and advertising to bring people in there. That's one thing. I could see that being added value, but in a standalone place or in, just an office building, and you're the only place there. Everyone wants just more money.
Yeah.
And you just have to, negotiate your way to come to an agreement that you like.
Would you agree that there is an argument to be made for people who are negotiating leases? Is there an argument to be made that you should not charge us as high of a percentage on our revenue as, say, Lululemon, because our margins are not as high?
Well, yes, for sure. You should get, if there's a percentage rent, you should get that as low as possible.
I mean, I think there's an argument there because it's the restaurant that's going to add value to that community, right? It's
going to bring people in to shop.
Always what will bring people, right? And more times than not, the restaurant is not the complete beneficiary of the elevation of a community. The landowners, the property owners benefit from the elevation of that community. The dirt literally becomes more valuable because of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes, and for sure, 100%. And also just there's different classes of office buildings. So the amount of work we put into our original location, that itself elevated the building of what class it was. So now the landlord wants to charge you more rent because they're in a different class.
Right.
But it was us that did it.
I don't know if a lot of restaurant owners are kind of aware of that. And I think it's good to have integrity, dignity, and know your value because it should be known. Restaurants are what change communities, relationships, and it creates jobs for people. It's all that, What were the biggest challenges from 2008 to 2009? You opened in 2009, correct?
Right. We opened in 2009.
May of 2009.
May of 2009.
And you took over the lease of what
January.
Month?
Just January.
About 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
So did you have to raise money? Did you put a lot of money into this?
Yeah.
Well, we put a lot of money into it for sure, but we renovated it as little as possible to get it to look the way we wanted to get it, to get the theme, to get the ambiance, and also back then we wanted to be the first green restaurant in North Carolina, certified green restaurant. It's important just because I know I was into recycling. I was into not really composting because don't have a green thumb, at least not at that point, but I knew how much the restaurant goes through and how much
waste,
carbon footprint restaurants add, to the earth, that I wanted to be as green as possible. And in LA, we've already saw a bunch of green restaurants.
Yeah, there's a movement happening.
And there was a movement happening. There was a Green Restaurant Association. I'll just say plug to them that they were a third party person that, rated restaurants and came in and made sure that you were following their protocol and at least talking the talk and walking the walk.
Got it.
And hitting certain benchmarks in energy usage, water usage, gas usage, recycling, composting, reusing materials, which is the best way to lower your carbon footprint.
So you're not just getting the restaurant space ready for your brand, but you're also outfitting it to operate to your standards of quality and values.
Quality, values, and yes, sustainability for sure.
Did you have to raise money?
We were fortunate enough we did not have to raise money.
So this all happened through savings or?
Through savings, and then yes, my parents came in a little bit and helped us out.
So friends, families, fools route is the way when if you can go that way, go that way. No shame there. That's the way to go. That's where you start. How much do you have to raise to get open?
I don't even know back then.
Well, we were pretty fortunate with purchasing. I still had my real estate license, so I actually got a percentage of our broker's percentage that we hired to purchase a property. So that was helpful. But just purchasing, the old business was about $150,000.
Okay.
It's a good amount of money. It's not a huge amount for having that location.
And then how much do you have to put into it on top of that to get open?
We put in.
Do you remember?
Yeah, it was about another $350,000.
Wait, are you talking about just from turning Martha Nels into Posana, or like the Doug renovation? And
so just shy of $500,000 is what it took to get open.
Yeah,
which by today's standards is really low.
It's extremely low because we also used all their equipment that was already there.
Right.
They had the hood system. They had. Disposals. They own their dish machine, so I didn't even have to lease that or buy that, which is a huge expense. We had to buy glassware, plates, china, silverware, the renovations, and then of course all the food and the product after that.
So what was the biggest challenge in that first year or two? How did you grow the most? How did you transform the most?
Well, there were, just from my point of view, it was like I turned into a single parent basically because he was at the restaurant all the time. And in the beginning of this conversation, he said we started out really small. We had no managers.
So what was your opening staff?
We actually had a chef.
No, you were the chef at first, weren't you?
Well, I was the chef, but we hired a hired a chef, and we had 2 dishwashers, 5 other line cooks. We actually had a pastry department, so we had 2 people there, and then we had we were only open for breakfast and lunch a couple of days, so we had about 15 more front of the house staff, but I was technically the GM, executive chef.
And front of the house manager.
Front of the house manager. Doing everything 7 days a week.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have, I think that's how you start, right? And then you elevate yourself out of those roles.
Right.
So what was the biggest challenge? And say looks like from 2009 to 2016, things kind of were what you were, and then by 2016, things start to change.
Okay, I would make a correction on that.
Yeah,
I would say from 2009 to 2010,
11.
12, 13. Well, 2 things happened. One, we first, the concept kept changing. We kept pivoting.
Was it a struggle in the beginning? Why was it changing?
Well, because I don't think I'd use the word struggle. We opened with breakfast and lunch. 5
and
days?
Really focusing on beverages and coffee, but they had a kitchen, they had a large space. I was like, we need to sell food to be able to afford this place. It's just too big to be a coffee breakfast place.
But we had dinner. We had dinner Thursday, Friday, Saturday when we opened, and breakfast and lunch the other days. So basically, we realized, I don't know what year we realized it, 2010, 2011, we realized that lunch was a public service.
Well, breakfast was extremely a public service, losing money every day. And then after that, we closed for breakfast, and then we started looking at lunch. And they're like, lunch isn't taking off the way we wanted it to take off. We're right in the middle of downtown. We have the bank building right across the street from us that also has 14 floors of attorneys and all different types of offices. And all the attorneys were walking by our restaurant at lunchtime to go to a sandwich shop and then bring their food back to their desk and eat there. And we're like,
I mean, it would feel
we're not
really
getting the clientele that we thought we were going to get.
But it would feel busy. Our customers thought we were doing great. right? Because it felt really busy, but you needed to feel really busy 2 more times, not just that first turn. And so we kind of identified that it was more of a dinner spot, really. That was where we were capturing the revenue and the customers.
Capturing the most customers. And of course, dinner is just more people drink at dinner. More people have multiple courses.
When you opened, you were breakfast and lunch and dinner?
Dinner 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Got it. That's a long day.
It's a very long day. Yeah. I did have a very comfortable couch in my office that I napped and I actually slept at.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to figure out who you were in terms of what you wanted to focus on?
Well, I'd say one thing that you learn really fast in the restaurant industry is you can think you know who you are, but your customers are really clearly going to tell you who you are. And that is kind of a wake-up call, because when we opened for breakfast and lunch, primarily of that vibe with dinner 3 nights a week, people thought we were a coffee shop for years. And I would say some of the journeys we went through were having who we were match with how we looked. So in a way, I think we did a big renovation in 2012-13 time period, because it was like the quality of our food, like the quality of our service did not match our ambiance. And there was a big disconnect. And I knew that it had a lot to do with the lighting. I really didn't like the way the lighting made you feel when you were in that space. It didn't have that intimacy. Warmth. It didn't make you feel like you were being held. And so we found a designer whose really his specialty is lighting, and he helped us transform that place to what it is today. And then the atmosphere matched the food, matched the service,
matched the price point,
and then everything gelled. And at that point in time, we were doing dinner six nights a week, and brunch on the weekends. Then COVID came, and when we reopened, we opened with just dinner 5 nights a week, and that's because of the crew you need to do dinner 6 nights a week and brunch on the weekend versus just one crew, dinner 5 nights a week, and it was brilliant.
The Great Resignation didn't allow for it.
But it was a good thing to come out of COVID.
Yeah.
We learned how to run a leaner, infinitely more profitable machine. I mean, our brunch was really profitable.
Even though our total revenue went down that first year, but our profit went up.
Yeah. I think that's how dare I suggest that COVID-19 was a blessing in disguise, but I think in many ways it kind of was. It broke a lot of bad habits in the industry out of the necessity. But I think we're slipping back into a lot of those bad habits right now.
What are you seeing as those bad habits?
Just kind of going back to the grind, anything and everything to survive at the cost of balance, fear-based decisions.
And yes, we have been thinking about opening a 6th night and bringing back brunch downtown.
Right. Out of survival.
Did you really?
Yeah, we've been thinking about it just to get that revenue higher.
Right. That's a fear-based decision.
That's fear-based, but it's also it's
a valid fear. Yeah. We gotta solve those problems. Right. We gotta turn on the frontal lobe. We gotta do more. But it can be a trap too.
It could be a huge trap, and that's why we're not just jumping into it. We're really, we're running the numbers. It's not just fear-based. It's not just this is what we want to do, or we need a higher revenue because everything's costing more, so we need more money to come in. But at that time, we might be spending a lot more money. So at the end of the day, we'll be.
So I want to get into that, but I want to talk about this 2012 renovation primarily on lighting. So when you say lighting,
lighting is where it started, and so
you put bringing actual lights, fixtures, spotlights.
Okay, let me just pause you. Okay,
exactly.
So it started with lighting. That was the impetus. It was the wrong vibe. You didn't feel good. I didn't feel good in there, and I felt like you felt too maybe you were a diner in LA that you can see everyone in every event or every whatever.
Yeah, too exposed, too open.
So that was the impetus for the design. But we closed, this was the most miracle thing that ever happened, I think, as far as I know.
We had this discussion with Doug Stratton in January, and then
he's our designer.
In May,
he's the lighting designer.
He's a lighting designer,
but he's also an interior
designer. Like he could do it all. And and then we closed in May. And in Asheville, it's very like you really want to take the opportunities of when people are in town. So there was every weekend or every May on Mother's Day weekend, that's when UNCA has their graduation.
So
University of North Carolina, Asheville, they have their graduation. So no, we knew we needed to be open on Mother's Day because it was a huge day. We closed right after Mother's Day brunch, and then we knew we had to be open for Memorial Day because that's a huge weekend in Asheville. So we had about 12 days to renovate the entire place.
So lighting.
Okay, lighting was just where we needed to start, but what happened was we gutted the whole place. We gutted it.
Yeah.
Gutted it.
Subfloor to the ceiling.
Wow.
Yeah,
in 12 days.
12 days.
We ripped
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like it was nonstop, but it was like they designed it. The GC and Doug, they worked very well together, and they had a lot of the stuff already made, and they were just
trying to do that today,
installing it. But no, that's why it was very important at that time. We really we thought it was, it was a big project for sure, but we thought it wasn't big enough to get one of those larger construction companies that, they do things by schedules. They take months and months and months to do anything and this and that. So we used a local guy, all local subs. And he actually used a lot of his family because they do different aspects of, building and the GC, he organized it so well that, and everyone, now I know that we were paying everyone a premium because they needed to be on call.
Yeah.
Because we might not be ready for painting until 11 p.m.
We'll let you know when we're ready.
Yeah. And we'll let you know when we're ready, but you need to be here right away.
As we're walking out, you're walking in.
But it worked.
And it worked. We actually opened on that Friday, a Memorial Day weekend. We missed our mark by 30 minutes. We opened at 5:30 instead of 5.
Because we were hanging
and it was completely
all the
done.
pictures.
Yeah. So, wow, that's crazy. That was 2012. Did you change your hours up with the reopen too, to focus primarily on dinner?
No, not at that point.
We had already been down just to dinner.
We already changed. At that point, we already changed to the 6 nights and the 2 brunches.
Got it. And then how did this change? Was there an instant, line in the sand where post-renovation that there's a different uptick in business?
Yes. Well, we also opened at the beginning of summer where we're very seasonal in Asheville still. Yeah. That, yes, it was a large uptick, but all of our customers, they were spending more money in there now. They were buying a second glass of wine or maybe a bottle of wine because
they wanted to stay. Because
it made sense, and we were giving them the experience before we did the renovation, but now it all made sense. It all just gelled and came together that this is a place you come into, you have a cocktail, you have your appetizers, you order a bottle of wine, and that kind of the whole atmosphere added to that.
So the first 3 years was just trying to figure out what is our sweet spot, what does the market want us to be, and how do we optimize being that?
Yeah. And we kept, I guess you'd say we kept, we were fluid. We were really fluid. Yeah. I mean, it's I would say that flexibility might be too rigid. And sometimes you get really hard data in your numbers, or people are like, oh, you mean that coffee shop? You just hear stuff that is no, dude, we do dinner 6 nights a week or whatever. Yeah.
So paying attention to
it takes a long time to re-educate people. I would really say try to be as clear as you can with what you want to do on the outset, because there is a huge cost in re-educating.
Yeah.
And I don't even just mean financial. I mean, it takes a long time to get through to people of what you are.
Right. You got to constantly communicate it in everything you do. Yeah. I don't think this has come out of the conversation yet. In 2009, did you open as a 100% gluten-free operation?
Yes.
Yes. We were also, while we were opening a restaurant, coming with concept, trying to be green and trying to certify green and adding up all those points, we also decided to be a 100% gluten-free restaurant. So that's a huge science project in itself.
Did you say wow or why?
Why?
Well, I have celiac disease, and he brought it up. He said, I think this should be 100% gluten-free. And I was a little mortified because at that time, most gluten-free experiences in restaurants were abysmal. Like,
borderline dangerous because people weren't.
Yeah, or you just got you got like lettuce with no dressing and like chicken with maybe salt and pepper. I mean, it was horrible, and there wasn't enough knowledge around it either, and I guess enough willingness or confidence to not look at it as, oh, I'm missing out. Now I'm cooking with one arm tied behind my back, but like, how can I make something so good that no one noticed that it's gluten-free? So Peter had always been, like you heard from the beginning, really into cooking, really into going to farmers markets, getting what was freshest. And so often our dinners were naturally gluten-free before I even had to be gluten-free, because eating farm to table in a lot of ways is gluten-free. I mean, obviously, if you're bringing in a baguette or something like that, but your food doesn't necessarily have to have gluten in it. Right. And a lot of times it doesn't. You go to a steakhouse, it doesn't have gluten in it,
Right.
And so I was a little mortified that it just had to be so good it went unnoticed. It had to be that kind of quality of freshness, of taste, texture.
Well, the reason why my mind went here is because I'm thinking breakfast gluten-free is like tough, because when people think breakfast, they're thinking like indulging, like hangover
French
food,
toast, pancakes,
like
eggs Benedict with English muffins.
Almost every plate has bread on it,
For sure.
So that must have been a challenge to be gluten-free and breakfast.
Oh, it was a huge challenge, but we had some decent recipes, but not good enough, so we shied away from the bread.
Even
we actually
lunch, because so many people want a sandwich.
All handhelds and stuff.
Right.
Yes, we did shy away from that. But we had a great pastry team. We kept experimenting, and we ended up with a really great bun that, of course, now it's even more different now because we just keep learning all the time.
Well, that world has come so far. Yeah. Gluten-free is delicious now.
Mm-hmm. And you don't end up having that food coma.
Gluten-free.
So, you can actually feel good.
Oh, yeah.
So we came up with hamburger bun, with focaccia, with brioche, and then we learned ways to make those consistently all the time, because it's literally a science experiment all the time because of the way they hold moisture, that if it's a very hot, humid day, it comes out different than if it's a cold winter day that's dry. It's thoroughly insane. So yes, we learned a lot very quickly, and we opened up gluten-free in a small southern mountain town.
So what happens this is a huge point of evolution for you up to this point, 2012, reinventing, listening to the market, figuring out what the market wants you to be, and then not rebranding, but redesigning to meet consumer demand. 2012 to 2018, that 6-year period, you really started to ramp up things. It seems like you were expanding, growing. You specifically, Peter, removed yourself as the executive chef, right?
No.
Well, remove myself from daily operations of the kitchen.
2016, Jordan Aris leads kitchen.
Yeah.
Aris, thank you very much. So he wasn't the executive. He was the sous.
He was the chef de cuisine.
You got it. So I guess, what's the next point of evolution for you? What was the next point of growth?
The next point of growth was, we had a Posana at a good spot. We had great employees. We, over time, we had enough managers that I wasn't needed for day-to-day operations.
So your growth was internal.
It was internal, and we very much brought people up from within. Jordan, we brought him in to be chef de cuisine. He wasn't internal, but he has grown internally since then.
He joined in 2010, so
and so now he's our director of culinary for Mandara Hospitality Group. So he oversees all the kitchens, and he is tremendously helpful in our work outside of the restaurants that we own. And so at that time, I felt like, restaurateurs, when you're passionate, you're crazy, like, it's not enough with just one. It's not enough with the business we have right now. I want to do something new. I needed more creativity.
Was this a mutual feeling?
Yeah, but I came about it from a different angle.
What was your angle?
My angle was when he tried to renegotiate the lease for downtown, and they weren't willing to renegotiate our next extension. And I'm like, well, I guess we should look for a second location.
But you stayed there, so you came to terms, right?
Well, it's still...
We're still negotiating. But this is even before that, because we opened up the hotel before that.
Oh, right.
We started doing consulting before that.
I just wasn't sure what part of
which part of our evolution we were on.
How would you say you grew the most during this period from 2012, the rebrand?
The consulting, for sure.
The consulting
that was awesome.
What were you consulting on?
Multiple menu developments at hotel. We did like the AC Hotels menu.
We did
in Asheville.
So
wasn't that the first?
The
one?
Asheville AC. So a hotelier came into Asheville. He already had a couple of hotels he was managing in East Asheville, and then he opened up. Went into partnership with one of the building owners downtown that owned a couple of properties, and he was going to open up a very nice hotel and also a more upscale hotel, full service, and then an AC hotel, AC Marriott. And it was supposed to be one of the first Marriotts to come to the United States, or the ACs to come to the United States.
That line.
And he was a customer of Posana. And at that time, I was very interested in growing and having more places, more locations, and maybe even different themed locations, different types of food. And I know that he was speaking to restaurateurs about the full service hotel that he was thinking of building. So at one point, I just asked for a meeting. He started asking me questions. I asked him questions about the project and this and that, and he always had a great experience at Posana. And he was, I guess, impressed with the level of service that we have, the way the place looked, the quality of the ingredients and the food, and the consistency. And that it was at such a high level that he actually brought in most of his executive team to come meet the two of us and learn about us.
Okay.
And we told them about our history, our story, everything we've done. And they, after talking a little bit, they hired us to consult on the food for the AC hotel.
Got it.
Because they were going to open it up on their, the ACs, I don't know if everyone knows here, but the ACs have a very brand-specific food that they have to offer for breakfast. They also have very specific for dinner if you're going to open up for dinner. But he actually opened up as like almost a third-party restaurant for dinner.
Got it.
And since he was mostly select service hotels at this point, he brought Mandara Hospitality Group in to consult on training their staff on the standards of the brand, but making it his own and making it better because he, traveled around, tried a few of the hotel brands, restaurants and food, and at the time he wanted something a little bit more elevated.
His little fingerprint on it.
Yeah, his fingerprint on it.
So what year was this?
2017.
I think it was 2016, 17.
Got it. So this is the next point of evolution in terms of another channel of revenue, the consulting.
Right.
Martha, where were you at this time? Because when in 2009, Peter was more hands-on. You were more
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, I did all the photography at that time, and there's just ways that I show up that you might not see directly as a customer.
The creative vibe, the design, the arts.
And just navigating humans. Yeah.
Humans, and then like
problem solving.
How the customers interact with what we do.
Got it.
The feel of the silverware, the glassware, the ambiance, the website, the marketing, like all that stuff, that the tactileness of Posana, what makes Posana at a different level than some other restaurants.
Like the way I approach a restaurant is I start with how I want people to feel when they sit down. And it's all through that felt experience, and so that dictates the decisions I make.
Your title is Chief Creative Officer.
Yeah.
So what falls underneath that umbrella?
Pretty much
whatever needs creation.
Yeah, even
wherever,
we even bring her along to pick out plates, and definitely silverware for sure. Glassware, like, it's not that we don't have a budget, and it's not that we're buying the most expensive of everything. Martha helps us, guides us to like the level that we want our customers to experience, and it's mine and Jordan's responsibility to negotiate a good price so we could afford that experience for our customers.
Got it. What words do you want to put to that, Martha?
I don't know if I have any. I mean, I don't.
No, Martha's creativity is boundless. It really is, and there are certain things that we were able to experience during our travels that were just unbelievable. And it's like, we want our guests to have that same experience. We want our guests just to have a great experience here. And like, do we want a wine glass that you could feel the lip on it?
Yeah.
No, we don't, because that's not what we want our customers to feel. So,
and I think the other thing I notice a lot of times is what you don't want. And it's hard for me to actually, I can think now of like when I walk in the bathroom and I see sort of this like confetti experience on the floor because the paper towels aren't feeding the right way. And so it's this tug of war people are having. And it's
so
just
avoiding those points, like
it's like noticing them and like problem solving them. It's like which isn't necessarily creative, it's not like, but it is. It's like,
But she's not here day in and day out for hours a day, that she comes in with a new set of eyes almost every time she comes in here.
Right.
So she points out things that we almost get accustomed to and used to, and like, oh yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about, you were way ahead of the gluten-free curve. Mm-hmm. So like I started this podcast in 2013, and I remember by 2017, 16, like 18, like that, like in that period, it was like this huge like movement of having a gluten-free menu and having a gluten-free like just like service.
Correct.
Like,
or being aware of it to be able to accommodate customers the best you can.
It was huge, like blue ocean. Like if you cater to this need, there's a lot of business for you. You were so ahead of that curve. From that 2012 period where you really dialed in who you were, to this 2016 period, 2017, 18 period where things really start to ramp up. Did your business also, volume-wise, were more and more people gravitating to you because of what you offered and what you specialized in?
I think it's kind of important to know. It's like we never really started talking about our gluten-free-ness as a marketing point. It was just something you knew just through a grassroots kind of thing. We didn't do it for marketing. It's like our menu had to be outstanding. People had to want to eat there because the food was great, period. And if you didn't ask what was gluten-free on the menu, you might not have known if you're just one of those people who was like, well, I guess I'll have the Caesar no croutons. And if you just sort of troubleshot the menu without having a conversation with your server, you might have missed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did at that time. We did have a lot of people ordering burgers and sandwiches, no bread, and things like that. And just because we didn't advertise it, even my dad knows our restaurant. He's very familiar with it. He loves it, but he's the kind of person that he wouldn't go into a restaurant if it was gluten free.
Yeah,
he just wouldn't.
It's a generational thing.
And he just wouldn't. And we didn't want to lose all those customers right away because, it's gluten free. It's getting larger. More people have celiac. More people
just want to avoid carbs.
Try to avoid that.
Yeah.
But we're not a carb free place.
Yeah.
We make our own buns. We make everything. Pasta, gnocchi.
Yeah.
Everything you could possibly imagine. But it's still a very, very small percentage of the people that go out to eat.
Right. Did that ever change when things started to where you saw that there was a market for gluten-free? Were you a little more outspoken about it, or did you always keep
We've just started to weave it in more. I mean, we've always won best of WNC for special diets or whatever. We've always won that award, which catering to people with dietary needs. But no, because I feel like it's not necessarily necessary. I mean, it is on our website, a designated gluten-free kitchen, things like that. But I think when you put yourself in a box, I hate being put into boxes. And if you're a gluten-free restaurant, then maybe you're not a great fine dining restaurant or a great casual fine dining restaurant or a great, all of a sudden you're this one thing. And
the food tastes like this because of
Yeah, and it's just
it's also preconceived notions when people come in. They're expecting a certain thing.
Right.
And, if they know that gluten isn't in it, they will start analyzing every little thing and just, psychologically find stuff that they're not happy with because they're missing out. Or they think they're missing out.
Got it. So fast forward to 2016, unless there's anything else you want to touch on. So you start exploring into this world of consulting. What was your agreement like with the hotels? What is your advice for people who want to enter into that world? Is it licensing? What are you doing? What is that agreement?
We're always trying to find ways to better represent ourselves and also feel like we're getting, paid what we know we're worth. And that's very hard, especially if you help other people that want to be restaurateurs, because most of those people don't have a ton of money depending on what market you're in.
So you sorry, go ahead.
But with the hotel, the hotelier, they actually agreed for us to become partners in the restaurant of their full service hotel, which ended up being a Kimpton hotel.
Got it.
And so they actually put us on a monthly retainer to help them open up the AC, and then they just kind of kept us there to revamp recipes and do things like that. It was very unconventional, extremely generous of the hotelier. But usually you want to try to get into a project that you could see an end point. You could see someone that is knowledgeable enough and has enough experience that they could take over the operations when you leave. It's the hard point when you're working with people that are brand new, that don't know the restaurant business, that have a brewery that wants to offer food. That endpoint could be very blurry because they just don't have.
There's nobody there
knowledge.
That's going to own that part of it.
And then
you might
sometimes
be a master brewer, but that's not the same as being an executive chef. You need to have somebody there who's going to own it.
Own it, and then be able to take over the operation when you leave. Otherwise, it could kind of drag out, and you agree to a price. Now it's taking 4 months instead of 2 months that you agreed on just because of, stuff happens. So the restaurant business is not just a perfect science.
Right. So that So this first, I don't know if it was the first deal you entered into, but you were getting paid. You were on a retainer, so like kind of. But you also had equity in the business.
That was the first project.
No, not at the AC Hotel.
Okay, when did that opportunity come?
Well, that
was the first opportunity. The AC Hotel was our first.
Was the first opportunity.
When did they offer you equity?
Well, they were. So when they were opening up the full service hotel,
Which is not the AC,
which is not the AC, which is the Kimpton Hotel. It was the
same hotelier.
Yes.
Same hotel group.
Got it.
Yeah. Hotel groups could go with any flag.
Got it.
So they ended up with Kimpton. They went to Marriott. They went to Hyatt. They
Sheridan.
And then that was when like Sheridan and Marriott were really joining together, and they felt what they were putting into the building and the decor of the building and how much localness they were bringing into the building with artists and with our restaurant and stuff. They ended up going to Kimpton, and the hotelier himself ended up partnering with us with all the food and beverage. Got it.
And this was after the first trial run, the AC. There was success, and he wanted to bring you in on another project.
Correct.
And that was 2018?
That was, well, we
opened in 2019.
We opened in 2019, September, October 2019. So, but we were helping design.
So you were getting owner's pay and
17.
you had equity in the actual, just the restaurant. So was the restaurant treated like like its own entity underneath the umbrella of the hotel? That you had equity, like how do you even evaluate that?
Okay, so we were leasing the space from the hotel.
Okay.
And then we ran it as a restaurant. Okay. But we were very commingled with the hotel because we had to do room service. We did the liquor cabinets in the room. We did the banquets. The brand standards that they needed to abide by that were food and beverage related, we needed to offer also.
Got it. So they had the real estate. You were the operating partner of the collaborated concept.
Correct.
Got it. And did they own equity in that restaurant too, or did you own the restaurant?
No, not the hotel group, but like the owner, the founder of the hotel group, he partnered with us.
Privately partnered.
Personally.
So you were business partners.
We were business partners, 50-50 with him.
Was he mostly like the financial partner?
He was. Yes. He also had, he had some thoughts and suggestions and great insight for sure, because he's been in business much longer than we have.
But he was really generous with, we knew this hotel was his last great project before sort of retiring. And so when we were designing it, it was like we knew it had to be of a level that was
like his piece de resistance, his final song, his swan song. So but we also I have a good amount of hotel knowledge. I also have a good amount of, just mass producing food knowledge working in the stadiums. And we really developed a great brand, multiple brands. We created great menus for, it was hard for us for the banquet menus because they needed so many different menus for so many different types of eating and this and that. It's like
playbooks,
but it was but it had to have, you had to know it was Posanaized.
Yeah.
And it came from us. And so it was way challenging. We learned a heck of a lot.
This isn't Parks Hospitality by any chance, is it? No. No? Okay. Because I was just curious because, Phil Bullhofer referred you to me, and I know that he's with Parks Hospitality. So I was just wondering, maybe he was just admiring the work that you're on his radar,
Yeah,
so,
Parks, they do a great job.
Yeah.
They do a really good job.
Yeah. So at what point, did you have the most brands underneath your umbrella? You had the Posana location, Well,
I guess that was 2019. Because COVID hit
right after
5 months after we opened Bargello in District 42, and that was crushing.
Right.
Those brands were, I mean, they were two of my favorite things I created. I mean, I really felt attached to them. And then just have COVID come in, and then we had to immediately pivot, like, because we're doing like Mandara Market and having people come and pick up like pre-made dinners and stuff because it's COVID and people aren't like going to the groceries. You know, it's like, it just changed everything. It blew up everything.
Yeah. And we had still a few people staying at the hotel, long-term residents, like they were in town that for business and they were traveling every weekend to go back home and then come back during the week.
I can't imagine being a long-term hotel resident.
At COVID, they just said, you know, we can't travel. It's too hard. We're just going to stay at the hotel for 3 months. They were there every day for 3 months. So they became residents. So we had to feed them because they were in a hotel room. Yeah. There's no place to cook. And we also have condos up above, so we had people living there.
Right, but that's not going to pay the bills.
No.
Oh, it didn't pay the bills. No. It didn't pay the bills at all. No. That's why, you know, we, at those two locations, we had about 120 employees.
Right. And at times like this, the restaurant industry, you're more of a first responder than you are a restaurateur.
100%.
Yeah.
First responder. Because even, you know, unfortunately, we had to terminate all of our employees so they could get unemployment because we couldn't afford them. But we were still feeding them one meal a day, our staff.
Yeah.
We still let them come in, grab a meal, and then take it home to their family. You know, we were still giving them a family meal.
So I'm assuming, because you're talking past tense, that these two concepts that you worked on were shuttered with the pandemic.
No, they're still open. We exited.
Oh, okay.
We exited. It was a great experience. We wish it could have worked out for us. I was working way too much. And it was, I guess we didn't put enough guidelines into our management, our agreement with the hotel of exactly the way it would work.
What guidelines would you put in knowing what you know now?
Can I say one?
Of course.
Okay, so because hotels like to book a lot of rooms when they book their event space, you know, that even though we were responsible for the rent in the event space floor, you know, that was the second floor, we couldn't sell it.
We weren't responsible for selling it. They had their own sales team.
So there was sort of a conflict of interest because we could sell that space left and right. We know what we can do based on our own experience. Like, we could have sold that space, but they didn't want to take it sort of off the market unless, say, 20 rooms went with it. And that wasn't really clear how operationally that worked in the hotel business. That makes sense, you know, but then maybe we don't cover that.
They're making their money on the rooms, and they want leverage to fill the
so
rooms.
They want the freedom to be able to book when their party, you know, like if someone wants to come in for
it's like having a private dining room that we're sitting in right now that you can't use unless your neighbor.
But that was part of our rent.
Yeah. Right, but that was the biggest thing because we had like we'll do an event tomorrow if someone has, you know, a celebration of life that, you know, all of a sudden comes to pass that like we could do an event that night. We don't care if we sell rooms. We want that event. We want that to be special for the people that need it to be special. And we lost, like I finally got into the books and they actually turned down 99% of the inquiries because of they didn't want rooms, but it was all they brought us in because it was supposed to be like for locals.
Right.
Owned by locals for locals. So that would hopefully bring in more people. Asheville has a crazy relationship with corporations and brands and outside people
and hotels.
So bringing in and also tourism, which I
think that seems to be the developer play right now, where they're really pushing to get local restaurateurs into new developments, like mixed use development spaces that you see all over the country. Which I think is great that they're bringing in local business.
I do think it's
important.
As long
as it's a win for the local business, not just the developer.
But are they offering equity? Like, are they selling them that space, or are they tenants? Right? Like,
they're tenants for sure.
Right. So I think that's the thing. It's just like, I think part of the game of being a restaurateur, yeah, you can lease, but the real game, the asset building is owning the dirt, right? And teaching people how to develop assets. And also if you're the value of that space, if you're bringing the value, you should be a beneficiary beyond your baked in profit, that
right.
or your owners pay. There should be some other.
I see that. And I see that. I feel that developers that are spending multiple tens of millions of dollars to develop a space aren't going to want to do that.
They have all the risk,
but
right?
I think, maybe negotiating a better lease.
Right.
Or at least negotiating a better tenant improvement allowance because of what you're going to bring to it. And yes, if you have a really great restaurant and it's rentals or condos above, or even an office building, you might be able to sell out faster. You might be able to rent all those apartments faster because you have a great restaurant below it. So yeah, most likely they're not going to want to share the profit with you, but maybe you can negotiate something else.
Right.
Free parking or a better lease or something like that.
I think if you know that your presence in that building brings upwards of $2 per square foot of additional value, then they should share in that.
I always think they should share.
They should. Yeah. But you need to bring it up.
Right.
They won't bring it up.
Right. But you got to be aware to know that that's the game.
Yes.
It hinges on your presence.
Yes. And you could literally negotiate anything.
Yeah.
The restaurant owner needs to know that you can negotiate anything.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna remind
and it's
you
just business.
Yeah.
It's not personal. It's just business. You're trying to get the best deal. You're trying to get a win. And if what they're presenting you, your numbers don't work, you're going to have to spend some more time and find a different place.
Just had a conversation with Ryan Turner. I don't know if you know Ryan Turner from Unsuke Restaurant Group or Concepts. I can't remember the full name of the restaurant group. But this idea of stepping into our dignity, we all have dignity. We're all entitled to dignity. And we step into it. It's not something we ask for. It's not something we're given to. We inherently all deserve dignity, right? And I think part of helping people step into dignity is creating awareness in your value, right? So all this stuff is so important, because if we're going to change what's broken with the industry, it means being aware and stepping into and claiming what we need to survive, right? And to create opportunity for others. I mean, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but this is really valuable stuff.
Well, it's huge. And it's also I think, even though restaurateurs, especially that are like chef restaurateurs, they're so passionate, they, so-called ego, they think so highly of themselves and their food, but sometimes they're not even self-promoters.
Right.
They don't like to talk about themselves.
Or they'll work for free, or they'll take any deal because they just have those blinders on and they finally own a restaurant, and it's a shitty deal. But they got their restaurant.
You need to self-promote yourself, especially at that negotiating table of your lease.
Right.
Or when purchasing a property, because, that could make or break. It's almost more important than checking all the food that comes in the back door.
I think that also brings up a really important point that we used to struggle with a lot. And it's sort of like, you can take for granted the gifts you naturally bring to your business as just like, you don't realize that it's special.
Right.
There's certain choices you make and things that you make. And I remember when we hired our first PR people to help us, there was just lots of stuff we weren't even mentioning because we just
did it.
We just did it.
We just did it day in and day out
Right.
because we thought it was the right thing to do. But some people out there really think it's important, so you need to tell it.
Right.
And we just never did
part
that.
of your story. And so it's kind of like knowing the lengths you go to do what you do, and being able to call those out as value points.
And know that it makes your space and you as a company special.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say special and important, and that also differentiates you from someone else down the street.
Right.
So that's really important. That's helpful.
No, I think this all ties back into dignity, but in order to be dignified, you need to know your worth, right? And I think this stuff helps us all become more self-aware. I can't believe we're already almost at 2 hours. Did I tell you it was going to go by fast? I hope it felt like going by fast.
Yes.
I don't need to wrap it up. I mean, if you have places to be, I want to respect your time. But is there anything that didn't come out of today's conversation that you want to make sure we talk about? Because I'll stay as long as we need to get what you want to get out.
Well, I'm not sure what would be of most benefit to your listeners that we didn't touch on, but
one thing that came up that I wanted to circle back to was this idea of where you are today, of really just being intentional about slowing down and finding that balance. So I guess, where are you today? Paint that picture of where are you today.
Okay, so where I am today is right back where I was when we opened the hotel.
Yes.
The restaurants. So this location where we opened, it's in
Second Posana.
Second Posana. It's in South Asheville. It's very residential, so completely different demographics than downtown, which is mostly tourism. And we're in a town square. We're in like a walking retail condo hotel
Biltmore
area called Biltmore Park Town Square. And this lease requires us to be open for lunch and dinner every day. So now we're back to 14 services a week, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., 10 p.m. every day. So like 10, 11 hours a day we're open. So I'm technically working more than I was, when we had one restaurant and we just had, 5 nights a week.
Right.
But I have set it up that I know that my time off is important. I know that I need to recuperate. So I probably have more staff right now than I need. So I'm making less money, but I'm happier.
Yeah.
And I have time to travel. I have time with my family. I have days off that, I could have them when I want. I have in our hospitality group, we have a director of operations. We have the chief culinary officer. We have a bookkeeper, and we have like a social media, digital marketing all around. No, that is Tanya, all around person. Okay. And so, yes, are they probably expenses that a hotel group that has 2 restaurants should have? Probably not. But my life is better for it.
So you call yourself a hotel group that has 2 restaurants?
I mean,
hospitality.
Got it. Okay.
Hospitality groups should have with only 2 restaurants. Some consulting gigs here and there, but like we probably shouldn't. But we do want to grow. We do want more restaurants. We're looking for more locations and different concepts within Asheville. And then we're also looking to spread Posana to different areas.
And I think that's something that's important that people have to understand. You have to build your home before you move in it, and you have to build your family before you move into the home. And call it. They like putting a divide between the people you work with. You don't call them family. You don't call them team. They're it's business. But at the end of the day, they're the people that choose you and you choose them. Right.
100%.
They're your tribe. Call it whatever you want.
Right.
And you have to develop them and build that team to be able to do the next thing.
Totally.
So
and
what is the next
thing? You need that
in
place. You need those people in place, that it is like the infrastructure which will support you as you move forward.
Yeah.
All those people. And I would also add to where we are now, I would say we had Posana 1 is this finely tuned machine, like totally dialed in, 100%. And you can think you'll have Posana number 2 completely dialed into 100%, but it's like everything's different in a way. And there are learning curves that show up that you didn't necessarily even know.
Or the world around you changes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Right.
That's always true. But and so there's the whole way of navigating and like how do we need to adjust and pivot and put things into our training manual that apply to this neighborhood that are different than downtown, right? I mean, isn't this all accurate, even though...
Correct, yeah. And it's, and then also opening a new restaurant, we noticed here, like, back in the day, a lot of hourly staff wanted the newer, brighter, shinier penny. So they kept jumping from place to place as they were opening if they thought it was good enough for them.
Right.
So I kind of thought that was going to happen here. But we actually ended up with probably some of the people that couldn't get jobs other places.
Right.
Or that were trying to step up from the type of restaurant they were in to a nicer restaurant.
First restaurant you opened post-pandemic, and the Great Resignation's real. You know, there just aren't the same amount of people out there looking for work.
Right.
Right.
So,
and the quality of people. And we have noticed that, you know, we've been very fortunate. We've had a lot of people apply
really
here,
fortunate.
extremely fortunate. They just take a little bit longer to groom.
Because you're building them from a blank canvas.
Yeah, a blank canvas, which, you know, in one way is great because they don't have bad habits.
Right.
And they don't have knowledge of how they did it there. And they're used to that. They don't want change, even though they want a change of location and space. But what they do day in and day out that they know already, they don't really want to change that. But so it takes a little bit longer with those people. But yes, we've had blank canvases come in here. It's taken a little bit longer to get them up to where we want them to be as staff, service staff, offering experiences, knowing the menu, being extremely knowledgeable. Like we're nice people, but we're not the easiest restaurant job that anyone's going to have.
High standards. Very
high standards.
Really, yeah.
And, you know, we love constant gentle pressure.
Yeah. There's an ode to Danny Meyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's, you know, we've only been open 6 months, so we have come so far, and our staff is amazing, and we see it in the reviews, and it's great to know that we all came through this journey together, and like our staff they're becoming to what we have downtown, which, you know, is almost 17 years old now, but we're only 6 months, and it's really just unbelievable.
Yeah, and there's so much reward in elevating other people.
Right.
You know, like that is the purest form of hospitality is caring enough, being warm and generous enough that you're willing to literally transform an individual and elevate them. It's one thing to offer a meal and to give you some shelter from the storm, but to, you know, teach it. What is the expression? Teach a man how to fish.
Fish, and then
you know?
he'll eat forever.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think that is the purest form of hospitality, of caring enough to literally elevate somebody, because that's a life. That's a transformation. You know, that's that's a long time commitment.
Yeah, they have those tools the rest of their lives. Like they
Right.
could, you know, not that we want to lose people, but we know people are going to leave, and people are going to want more, and people are going to want better things, and whatever else. And this might even just be, you know, for them to get through college,
Right.
or some type of school because they really want to do this instead. But it's great to know that, like, they'll leave Posana hopefully representing Posana very well wherever they go. They'll have more wine knowledge. They'll have more liquor knowledge. They'll know menus and farms and, you know, what we think is proper service, and just being able to speak to all the different types of people that come through here while still bringing out who they truly are, because that we want their personalities to come out here.
I love that. So what is the vision? What is the future? Where are you going?
Ultimately, even though, like, I'm at the age you want to start thinking about retiring, I want to open more Posanas in different areas. Asheville, we love Asheville. Asheville's like the most perfect place for us to live and for us to have opened our restaurant and to grow. But the city of Asheville still has 80,000 people in it.
Yeah.
And Buncombe County, the county that we're in, has 225,000 people. It's a very small demographic. We want to go someplace a little bit bigger. You know, not Chicago bigger, but like maybe Charlotte, maybe Greenville, maybe,
Raleigh,
somewhere else in the state. We really think the state's great. We know it very well. We know the liquor laws. I think it'll just be easier for us to open up another place in a different city in this state.
Why another Posana and not a new concept?
Well, I think we would love to do a new concept here in Asheville, but
I think this is a great brand, honest to God. I think it's really, really great.
It's a great brand. We have, we're not huge on the national publicity, but we have some. We are a drive destination. Asheville's a drive destination, so we have people from all over the state and within like 4 or 5 hour drive coming here, so they already know us. And,
like we
they
could
know
open
us.
In Nashville, like if we wanted to, and
Right.
probably
Atlanta.
do
Atlanta, but like so we already have some name recognition in the Southeast. So we think, that would be people would more, developers would like to have a well-known brand already to open up in their space, and then from there we could spread our wings and open up different concepts throughout their city.
I mean, people have always asked us to open up in their towns, that come for the weekend or certain times of the year. And people have moved, they've made a decision to move to Asheville after eating at our restaurant. I mean, I'm not talking a lot, but maybe a dozen people in 17 years. It's like the one thing that helped them make or break their decision of Asheville versus, and it's probably because they had the dietary need to do so. I mean,
for sure, 100%.
But I think it is really special when you can have a party of 8 where one person needs to be gluten-free and everyone has an amazing dinner.
Right.
You're doing something right. And I think that's a brand that you can take to other markets. And it's a niche market. I would highly recommend anyone wanting to go into the restaurant business to have 2 fryers, to go to that expense. So you have a designated fryer for doing gluten-free. It makes a huge difference to
100.
Probably a small amount of people, but it's like the happiness that like the degree to which I'm happy when someone has a designated fryer, just so
Peace of mind.
Yeah.
Huge peace of mind. And we've also noticed over the years that someone will come to Asheville for vacation that has celiac or has a dietary restriction that they can get ill from. They find Posana. They're there every meal the rest of their trip.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They'll even come back to Asheville a second time because they know they could eat well and not get sick while they're on vacation and enjoying family and stuff. So, if you're going to do it really well.
Yeah. Definitely a huge opportunity there. So we now know what your vision for yourself is. What is the vision for the future of the industry that you want to see? How do we move into that future intentionally?
Oh, we're going to get into tipping and fair wages and all that other stuff that, it kind of puts restaurateurs in a hard place. We do put a lot of money into the location, and, especially if you're buying the location, you're even putting more money than if you're leasing the location. But you're building out a restaurant, so you do need to make your money back, but you also want everyone to thrive at the same time. And I think the tipping system just has to completely get turned upside down.
Yeah.
I know it's so controversial now. Some cities and states were forced to completely change it just because of their minimum wages went up to such a point where any restaurant can't sustain the minimum wage, and also all the tips going to the front of the house and not sharing with the back of the house. But I really think there needs to be a huge change. And the restaurateurs, and I don't think we're greedy. Some are, of course, but it's also very hard, and it's not like the margins are that big.
Right. Yeah, there needs to be a new business model. And we're exploring those business models at Restaurant Stoppable. I have plans lined up to talk to people who are. It's really about figuring out what are the models that work, I think we have to change the systems within the organization, to your point, eliminating tipping, right? Everyone moving to like a salary, I think that is much more, it's much more plannable. It's fixed costs. It's less of it variable costs.
It is fixed cost. But then, like when we're used to paying a lot of hourly people, we, as restaurateurs, we could control the pay by controlling someone's hours.
Right.
And also the Department of Labor, they have all these rules about overtime and do you fall under exempt, non-exempt? If you put everyone on salary, no one's allowed to work. Well, that's based on a 40-hour work week. So then you're going to have to pay all of those people overtime if they work more than 40 hours. So that everyone still has to clock in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rigmarole that you need to work by and figure out the best way to do it.
I have a lot to learn, and I think that there's a lot of good arguments. I want to have more of those conversations, but I do agree that something has to change. Is there any conversation you think restaurateurs should be having with each other going forward? Like, what should we talk about? Should we talk to each other, and what should we talk about?
Well, I guess just that, how do we all succeed? How do we all do the things we love to do and that we want to do, which is own restaurants and grow people and invest in people and take care of people at the same time, but we still, like, everyone in that still has to make a good living.
So how do we do that?
It's hard because we did have this conversation. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago we had this conversation. And of course, in Asheville, we're mostly independent. Well, we have a very large number of independent restaurants here, mom and pop. And we have an organization, the Asheville Independent Restaurant Association, that a lot of us belong to. About 150, 175 restaurants belong to this. So we all talk. We all talk to each other, and we all talk about what's the best for the restaurant business. And this is going to be controversial and a touchy legal, because to break out of that tipping model, you need a large percentage of the restaurants to break out of it at the same time.
Collective effort. It needs to be a slamming, or even judicial. Like, it might have to go to legal, where
you might have to, because if restaurants get together and say this is what we're all going to do, that's antitrust.
Yeah.
And we don't want to go there.
And is it collusion technically? Aren't restaurants not allowed to communicate? Which is crazy.
No, I don't think they're not allowed to communicate. That's just you're not allowed to talk to those people.
You're not allowed to band together.
It's definitely an antitrust. It's like almost a monopoly kind of a thing. I don't know the exact
even when you're working
term.
For the collective, right?
But you're working for the collective, and it's going to very much change the way all restaurants are run.
But isn't that a good thing?
You got to ask the servers.
That doesn't matter. You're definitely changing the lifestyle of of a certain group, a certain class of individual.
You're not losing that money.
But the way it feels to me is that there's a certain level of motivation that servers get from the unknown, and it's. I bet you if we were, doing all the brain chemicals that
right.
are, it's like gambling. It's like, how high of the tips can I get?
Is that hospitality?
Well, I think it can be.
You need to look at the motivation of servers.
Yes, you have to look at their motivation, but I think some of them can. I think of our team, and I think some of them would feel a lack of motivation if they were on a salary, even if it was the same amount of money. But I don't think anyone here seems disingenuous with the experience they're trying to give.
But what if there is profit sharing? Because you no longer have people that are dependent on tips, but they're dependent on total revenue. And if you have benchmarks and goals and you incentivize people to do better because we all make more money, I think there's ways around it. I'm not to cut you short.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm with you. I'm just like going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big. Like it has to completely be turned upside down. And also, restaurateurs, we like to make a little bit of money. We're not making a huge amount of money. We're not retiring tomorrow. But then that's also we're asking something of the employees, so the owner should give something too, for sure.
I apologize for cutting you short, Martha.
I don't feel cut short at all. I don't feel cut short at all. I just jumped onto what you were saying.
So when we reopened Posana in downtown after COVID, we reopened with the model of tip sharing the entire house. The front of the house staff didn't like it because they felt like they were going to end up with less money, which, yes, they did. Not much less, probably like 10% less. But then
less money than they would have made, or
than they would have made because we were giving them.
But they were still making 20% more than the back of house.
At least.
Because around COVID, the payment laws, labor laws changed a little bit. That as long as you paid your staff minimum wage, the restaurant or the business could technically disperse the tips any way they want. And in doing that, like it's national, it's whatever your minimum wage is in your town. It's different all over the country. But we had everyone at like between $10 and $14 an hour, depending on their experience, where they are. And then we also had, a percentage of the tips go to the front of the house, a percentage go to the back of the house. And then within there, it was split between, what department you were in and then also the amount of hours you worked. The front of the house didn't like it because they felt like they were going to make less money, a lot less money. And the back of the house didn't like it because they had no idea how much money they were going to make.
Meaning, what ended up happening is they opted out, the back of the house.
Yeah, both of them didn't want it. But, after...
The back of the house was making more.
After 2 pay periods, the back of the house liked this. But they still didn't like the not knowing exactly what they were going to make.
Yeah.
They didn't like the variable.
So, we had a little bit of issues in both the front and the back of the house. So everyone was unsure, like, how it was going to work out. But we dispersed all the tips. We didn't keep any for the house, which some restaurants are doing to help with the expense. And we gave them, a pretty decent amount as a base wage. So the back of the house ended up making a little bit more money. The front of the house ended up making a little bit less money. But technically, no one was happy with it. So we went back the old way.
Yeah. It's not an easy problem to solve.
No.
But I think, the more on board, the more collective the action is, I think the better our odds. I think it's just like you have 10 different people pulling on this ball in the middle. They're standing in a circle around this ball and everyone's pulling in different directions. You're not going to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. But if you pull in the same direction, things start to happen. And I think that's what needs to happen. But I think we need to create space for restaurant owners, not just to talk locally in markets, but to then have a layer above that where we're seeing what other markets are doing. What's working in different markets? How do we share this information? How do we make this one social experiment to make the industry better? And here's the thing, I think if you make the industry better, you make communities better.
100%. That's our whole thing. That's how you interact with your staff and how your staff interacts with your customers, there's a ripple effect to that. And so you can really elevate the quality of living everywhere.
100%.
Yeah, I think in the restaurant business here, the hospitality business will include hotels and bars and fast food and standalone restaurants and independents. They're the second largest employer, in the
world,
in the
behind
area.
The government.
But
we affect a lot of people.
100%.
But don't forget about the number of people we interact with every day.
Influence.
Yes, the touch points for being able to leave a positive imprint. whether it's how you're interacting with the executive team or the executive team is interacting with, the house team. It's just, it all ripples out. Yeah. And I don't know, that's really important to me because I really think you can leave the world a better place through the quality of your connections.
Yeah, 100%. I cannot agree more with that. And that's what this podcast is all about, is gathering the information, lifting each other up so we can move in that direction. Who knows where that destination is? Mm-hmm. We're figuring it out, but these conversations are super important, and I can't do it without folks like you sitting for over 2 hours now, almost 2 hours and 20 minutes. So we got to try to wrap it up. Is there one thing you've recently done in terms of technology, operations, systems, a new thing that you've implemented that's really moved the needle that we should be aware of?
God, we haven't talked about technology at all in this.
No, but I would say a game changer for us. We hired someone. I don't know how long ago we hired him, who specializes in Google Ads. I think that's been huge for us.
Do you know this person's name?
I think it's Dearborn Digital, but he only has a small handful of clients. But anyone who specializes in Google Ads, yeah. And it's like, I think we're the only restaurant he does in Asheville. He does other types of businesses. He wouldn't do another restaurant. But
maybe that could be a cool deep dive, is to get a Google Ads specialist on.
Yeah, I can.
I think that helped us out. Ever since Helene, we've obviously Asheville, a huge decline in tourism and people traveling here, but the year after Helene, which was last year, 2025, was actually our best year ever at downtown Posana.
And so we use OpenTable as a reservation system, and they, our rep reached out to us to be like, what are you guys doing? You're 14% above everyone else, or whatever percent it was. I don't know, 10%? What?
Well, no, we were 14% of the previous year while everyone else was down.
No.
And she was like, what are you doing differently? And that was the only piece of tech, so to speak, I could think of that.
The ads.
The ads.
Yep.
And the ads are, it's super creepy how that works, but when someone's seen your ad and they walk in your restaurant, because of your phone. They know where you were searching for a restaurant and what you did thereafter. And that's just how the world works these days. And I'd say it's worth taking advantage of.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do. I mean, there's places to spend your money and there's places not.
Yeah. Restaurants have an unlimited amount of places to spend money. And you just need to figure out which one is the best for you. We use OpenTable here. We went back to OpenTable. We started OpenTable. We went to Resi. We thought that was great, but then we went back to OpenTable.
Why?
Just because we didn't think there was enough.
It had to do with the age group too.
There was enough places in town that used Resi.
Yeah,
and it wasn't really a Resi town. It was kind of split between. It was more OpenTable. At one time, about 30 independent restaurants went to Resi all at one time to try to get that collective group to go. Yes, it was a lot less expensive, but OpenTable, who probably has hundreds of millions of people in it now. But then at the same time, you start hearing words, some talking that 95% of people find restaurants on Google because they just use Google to look for restaurants that are near them. And then from there, they might go into OpenTable if they have an account to book it, if that's where that is. But a lot of times they just get it from Google. So it's just what's the best
discovering
for you
through Google, and then they're using the framework, infrastructure, technology, digital presence to then navigate and book with you through OpenTable.
Right.
And I have heard that OpenTable has kind of done a 180. They evolve their business model to be more restaurant centric versus consumer centric.
It is, and there's but they've also found other ways to more add-ons,
right,
that you could choose to get or not get. And
yeah, I think everything you just said to us is spot on. And my only concern, do what Martha said, right? Invest in Google, look into tools like OpenTable for discovery. I worry that is a short-term solution that is feeding into a long-term game that does not play well for restaurants or society.
Which part?
Both. I think Google, like, if you need to spend money with Google or Meta to survive, if that's true,
but
that two companies control that have that much influence.
It's not so much that the two companies control that much. It's how consumers search.
But that's the thing. They control consumer behavior, which means they have, I think 80% of all marketing expenditure goes between Google and Meta.
I know, but how else are you going to find,
insane.
like, how else are you going to find a restaurant?
You're right. That's the problem.
What, right. I mean,
like,
so
if you have no choice but to survive, that's my concern.
But what's the alternative?
There isn't one. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the stuff that we have to be aware, because what you're saying is right.
You're literally going to create a new search engine, guys.
Martha, I think yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's the
restaurant search engine.
I hear what you're saying, and I recognize it sounds ludicrous. Absolutely,
it's
ludicrous.
like City Cheers is creating an app that's trying to do this. Do you know?
But I think that we have the technology, and we can make a change. We can. I think OpenTable is a perfect example. If enough people get fucking pissed off, you can make a quick change, and they're like, "Oh shit, we got to adapt." Google, Meta, they survive off of one, data. Then the second layer is marketing, leveraging that data. If they don't get consumer habits and consumer data, they don't have a business model. Where I'm going with this is the consumer, not just the restaurant industry, consumers need to be more conscious about where they give their time and energy to what apps. I think that is a huge
100%,
lift.
but let's just put let's don't forget about your restaurant website.
Right.
And you better be feeding the Google bots if you want to show up on the first page, and do not change your first paragraph of text on your homepage. Because you are going to fall to page 3 when you change that first paragraph.
I agree with you, and it's not good.
No, but
it's not good. But it's like, now it's the game you have to
play. Do what Martha's saying. Don't get me wrong. Like,
I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I'm like, where would our webpage live?
It's one of those things. There's we have an attorney that donates her time to the Independent Restaurant Association quite a bit, and she's amazing. But it's like a new law that just got passed. If you don't agree with it, do you really want to be the first one to push against it and then get sued and then have to go to court and then, take on all that onus? To adjust something that you're not happy with.
So I guess if I can try to connect the dots, how my brain ended up here.
Okay.
Peter, you said that the restaurant industry is the second largest industry in the world behind the government. If we, as restaurateurs, can identify that something's wrong,
right,
then we and only we can go against the Googles and the Metas of the world,
right,
to convince consumers that if they want to be upstanding, conscious capitalists,
right,
that we need to figure out a better solution, because the internet isn't Google. It lives on the internet.
Right.
It's just a search.
I know,
you know what I'm saying?
I do.
It is not the internet,
I do,
but people do think it is the internet.
No,
right?
I get it's just
it pretty much runs
the primary.
Exactly.
It is the primary pathway we select.
I agree.
And even the computer companies select it. It's just automatically there when we.
What's the number 2 search engine?
Maybe DuckDuckGo.
I don't think they're around.
No, they're around. DuckDuckGo's around.
I know that they're coming.
Are we talking like Firefox as a search engine, or like?
I could talk to you for another whole hour, and I want. I love the conversation.
We're just getting started.
I could go further. I just think that nobody's talking about the fact that these companies have so much influence.
I think they're trying to talk
so
about
insane.
it. But
right.
We thought when we had Yellow Pages and just starting to use credit cards, the people that sold that data back in the Stone Age, what does Google and Meta and even Apple and all those, Samsung, whoever electronics that you use, how much information of yours do they have?
Right. And how are they using that to influence you? It's scary.
They know you better than you know you.
Totally. Right. All I'm saying is I totally agree. You have a point. I mean, it's very interesting. In the meantime, there are ways you can take advantage of using those tools that we're very conveniently hooked on right now, for lack of,
you could also choose not to use them. You could choose to use them $100 a month, $2,000 a month. Google will always say you could have done this much better if you would have spent another $1,000 this month. They'll always say that. Don't bite. Don't give them any more of your money than you're willing to give them.
Yeah, it's all stuff I want to explore more. I just want to have the conversations and poke the beast. That's the thing I love the most about this podcast is you get to poke the beast.
Well, maybe you should talk to Adam.
Yeah, well,
he's fascinating.
Is he the person that helped you with the ads?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd be open to it. I could, like I said, I really want to respect your time. We're now 30 minutes over. I'm going to ask you a few questions. A short answer will be wrapped up out of here in no time. What's one thing about your business, a value, a process, a system that's truly uncommon and makes you unstoppable?
Well, I'd say the gluten-free aspect, and I think that's pretty unique.
I think it's our people and our culture.
For sure.
Yeah. Also,
I don't know how many restaurants do this, but really the starting point is how it's going to make the customer feel, and all decisions are based on that, not a monetary one. And that's just where we start. Yeah. It's where everything unfolds from. And maybe that's common. I don't know, but I think it's worth saying.
Yeah. The mission statement is to change the world through inspiring, empowering, and transforming the restaurant industry. How have you personally transformed? The two of you as owners, how are you better today than the people you were when you got started?
That's a tough one.
How are we better today than we started?
I got one.
I mean, it's definitely helped us grow, really embrace and hold multiple points of view and offer support in so many different ways. I mean, I think your employees, so often you go to the lengths that you'd go to oftentimes with family, not all the time, but like definitely. I mean, we've bailed people out.
Literally out of jail.
There's just occasions you rise to because of humanity. It's like he needs to be at work. No, that wasn't the motivation.
We just felt bad for him. We liked him a lot. We just felt bad, and it was kind of a stupid thing. But I think, I think more about other people than myself.
Yeah. And if I pulled one thing out of today's conversation too, you found balance. At every point of your life, you prioritize balance. And it seems like you continue to prioritize that, which I think is really important.
You lean that way.
Yeah.
You lean that way, and we very much think it's important for our staff. And the staff works very hard for us.
Peter's kind of, at the beginning of this conversation, started with how, when COVID happened, he was at the restaurant 7 days a week and blah, blah, blah. It was like once he came home, and I'm like, you might want to stop. You might be sending the message that no one else can stop.
Yeah.
Like how he said that, modeling that. And I think the other thing to say is when you come home and you're frustrated and you're feeling some intolerance for shit that's going on that you don't like, it's like, well, are they modeling something you're modeling for? You always have to look back at are you setting that example that would help that not happen?
Right.
Usually your staff is a really great mirror for your own shortcomings.
Yeah. What's fun is that when we write down our core values, our vision, our mission, all the things that you're supposed to do to have these cultural exercises, we think we're writing this down for everyone else. But I think the reality is, and what we miss is we're writing it down for us.
Yeah.
because those are our values.
Right.
Those are the things that I need to do every day. And if I do those things every day as the leader, everyone follows. So to your point earlier, balance. I'm not doing the things that our core values say. Like, I need to force balance.
Right.
Because if I'm not doing it, to your point,
Yeah, and if you're seeing someone not be accountable to their department, it's like, well, are you being accountable to them? Are you modeling what you want them to model to their team? Are you putting in the boundaries and expectations and being super clear, for example?
Behind every great restaurant is a great person that lives those values and is the example. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom you could leave behind for the good of humanity and your legacy. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be? I don't know if you want to tag team this.
Yeah, tag it.
Whatever is in your gut.
I'd say, put out what you want to ripple out. Do you know, that would be one.
You get what you give.
Be self-compassionate.
2.
Don't forget about yourself.
Yeah. What's the 3rd one?
There is always a solution.
3. We ended this thing the way we started it. I love it. Thank you so much. I find all my guests, the majority of my guests, through word of mouth referral. On that note, who do you respect and admire in this industry? Somebody that, if they were a guest on this podcast, you would absolutely listen to that. Somebody you want to be more like. Who is that?
Well, I would listen to the 2 biggies. Like, I would listen to Jose Andreas or Danny Meyer, because I find both of them contribute in interesting ways through food.
Really setting the bar high.
We have a friend who's a restaurateur, and I'd love to listen to you interview him.
Yeah. Do you have a name written down? You got someone? Oh.
No, I have one person, and I'm gonna. It's I don't know his exact title. It is Chad Blackwater.
Chad Blackwater. Who's the name of the person that you have written down, or that you had your friend that's here?
Oh, Chick Evans. He's in Kenilworth, Illinois.
What's it? Chick Evans?
Well, his name's George, but he goes by Chick because his dad was George. But Chick Evans, and he owns
George Chick Evans.
George Chick Evans. He owns Maxie's in Ithaca, New York, and he owns what is? Let me just you give your name and then.
Well, I'm trying to find his name because.
Why did I just forget the name of his restaurant?
Chad Blackwelder.
Blackwelder?
Yeah.
Want me to look it up?
I think he works for North Carolina Agriculture, and just the amount of outreach and support he does for North Carolina products is huge.
Chad Blackwelder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have your phone for a second.
Turning
that's
old
him right there.
Rudera Farms with. We're wrapping it up. You're good. You're good. We can just wrap it. So, is there any way we can connect with you? What's the best way to connect?
I'd say email.
Yeah.
And Peter's got a lot more information than I do. Like just about, for people who are interested in doing something with a hotel or whatever.
Yeah. What's the best email to use?
Either Martha at Mandara HG or Peter at Mandara HG.
Any social handles you want to hit us with?
Our Posana.
Okay.
Or Mandara Hospitality Group at Posana Restaurant. Cool. Or.
And if you're wondering where Peter went, he couldn't make it to the very end.
Bio-break.
He had to hit the bathroom. But I will let him know when he comes back, and I'll let you know now that I cannot do what I do without people like you taking the time to sit for 2.5 hours more to share your story, to go deep, to get vulnerable, and to move the industry forward.
Well, thank you. I think it's really interesting what you're doing. I think it's really great.
I appreciate that. There is no questioning you and Peter, who's not here right now, are unstoppable. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.